Hey everyone, looks can be very deceiving because right now it looks like I'm running my same Lego trains around the same Lego layout, the same way as the last time you saw them. But in reality, I've made every change that I'm willing to make in the near to intermediate term in a final, for now, response and follow-up to all of the feedback that you guys gave me last week on the video where I asked about the noise of these Lego trains. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Lego trains, the Lego 9-volt system, the old 9-volt system, performance, improving efficiency, the sound of them, and we're going to talk about sound quality in general. If none of those things interest you, then this video will not interest you. It will be boring, and you just shouldn't watch it. So if you just don't like Lego trains in general, then you don't want to watch this video. Seriously, trust me. But let me get right into the nitty-gritty now. I'm going to start with just a discussion about this outer train, this cargo train in particular, because I did a lot of experimentation with it. I'm going to turn off my passenger train for the moment so we can just focus on that one. It is going much slower now than it did before. I've made a number of changes to facilitate that. Now, you may have wondered why it was going so fast before. Many of you have commented outright that it looked like it was going way too fast before, just a completely unrealistic speed, and I needed to slow it down. I didn't slow it down because I could not. There was no option. It was not possible to make the train run any slower and still get around the outer loop here because of the incline over on the what is now the far right side for us. Any slower on the Lego 9-volt train controller, just one single speed slower, and it would stall out every single time. It would not make it over that hill. So it was going at the slowest speed that the controller allowed, that would actually allow the train to make it over that hump and to make it around the loop. Now it's going much slower for a number of reasons. First of all, I did a bunch of experimentation and analysis regarding the sounds of the train, and found that the single largest contributor, most major contributor to its sound profile was the 9-volt motor, actually the 9-volt motor pair on that front locomotive. So this is a 9-volt motor upside down. Here are a couple that are right side up. They have metal wheels on them, and when they go over the 9-volt metal tracks, they make a lot of racket, a whole lot of racket. So previously on that blue locomotive, I had two of those 9-volt motors like this. See, I've got them at the front. You just look for the metal wheels. You see them at the front, you see them at the back. I had two of them, not to give it more power, not to give it the power of two locomotives, but to give it more traction. Traction is a major, major factor with trains in general. It's a very important thing. And that was needed to get up that incline over there. I've now taken one of those motors out, and in order to continue to get the traction that I needed, I have placed ballast. A lot of ballast, two large Lego ballast pieces inside of that locomotive at the back, directly over the powered axles. So it now has half as many of those loud metal wheels going over the metal tracks, but it's still able to power itself around just fine, and it has all the traction that it needs. However, I'm still going much slower, especially when it gets right to that point where it's at its slowest, much slower than before. Slower, in fact, slower than that old 9-volt system would allow. The old Lego controllers just didn't have that many speeds available. It was variable speed, but not continuously variable speed. There were steps. So one step slower would have stalled out, and I was going the slowest that it could before. Now it's going slower still because I've taken those old 9-volt controllers out. So those are the speed controllers there, and then those are the transformers for them there, the wall transformers. And in the process of taking them out, I was also able to take out all this dumb wiring, which was, these wires are just too thin, I think. And then every single one of these connectors has potential loss behind it. It's just a snap fit from the point where they're connected or were connected to the transformers or the controllers themselves, to the points where they were connected to the tracks. All points of potential loss and just inefficiency. All that's been taken out now, completely taken out, and I'm running an actual proper model railroading transformer unit. Not the most expensive, not the highest end. It's actually relatively low end, but it's so much better than the old Lego controller sets. So that is able to give me a much more continuous power or speed range. So I'm able to access slower speeds, and it also has less voltage drop when under load. So when the train starts to go up the incline there in the back, I'm not dropping as much voltage as before. Another thing that has helped with the voltage drop is rewiring the layout. So rather than using those press fit connectors, I'm now directly connected. I've actually soldered in for the outer layout or the outer loop and also the inner loop. Both of those are soldered in. These are 18 gauge wires, and there's one connector, low loss connector, in line, and then they ultimately just go directly down to the transformer itself. So much less loss there, much better power delivery. However, there is another inescapable, almost inescapable source of voltage drop with these 9-volt systems, and that's the connections. These points of connection between each section of track. Those are all, again, press fits. They're little small points, just a little dimple that or kind of the opposite, like a just a point, to almost a pinhead point that sticks out to make a connection from one to the next. So it's not a very good connection that you get between these. It's good enough, but there is enough resistance that by default you get a major, a noticeable voltage drop on the opposite side of your loop, especially on something this big. The more sections of track you have, the more voltage loss you get. So you end up with this zone at the back where everything goes much slower. So to combat that and to get more consistent power delivery around this larger loop, since I was rewiring everything, I went ahead and brought a main wire, a main line, all the way out to this end. And this is a connection, this goes directly from the transformer to here with no connectors in between. So this is full line voltage at this end, the exact same as you'll read at the opposite end. So now I have half as much voltage drop throughout the layout, with the slowest point being over there, where it's at the furthest distance from these, because the connectors are a little bit closer to the left than center. There's a little bit of drop on this incline, but it's quite insignificant. And I just have more consistent speed all the way around. So rather than seeing the train going as fast as it possibly could for the given requested speed over there at that end, where it would seem like it was just speeding by, to the point where over here it was absolutely crawling, now it's a lot more consistent. It does slow down going up the incline. That's because it's drawing a lot more power. It's a lot more difficult to pull something up an incline. But the change in speed is much less significant, and as a result, I'm able to keep it at a slower speed, which in turn makes less noise. Now there's one other thing that makes a lot of noise with these Lego trains, and that's the gear train inside of each of these 9-volt motors, which is, I did some measurements, and it's significantly louder with these old 9-volt ones from the gear train. Forget about the metal wheels, the gears inside, significantly louder than the newer power functions ones. So that's another point where I needed to deal with another issue. I'm going to let this train come over here, and then I'm going to get it to stop. Fortunately, I can now control this with my feet. It's very convenient, but all that power at the back, I actually turned on the other one accidentally a little bit, but all that power at the back, traction at the back, weight at the back, and I added a thick, clear strip of double-sided tape on the underside here, and eventually I'll put some foam on the other side of that, but that just helps to drown out some of the gear train noise, because the whole unit there has that hard plastic case It's mostly hollow, and that would just create basically a diaphragm effect. It was acting as a speaker, and it would actually amplify the sounds a little bit. So that reduces that a little bit. Once I switch to it, I'll try to get some foam, maybe do a little bit of experimentation, find the best foam for that particular use to put there instead of the backing material that's still there right now. But that will help a little bit more with the speed. Now I still have this one on the inside. Let me get that one going once again. And whoops, wrong one. That one has undergone the same treatments. So it's running on the controller that allows me to control speed much more finely. I'm able to get it to run at maybe a little bit slower speed than I was before without going significantly slower because I have more range in there. But that one also has, it has always had just one single motor, but I put the double-sided tape on the underside of it, and I also lubricated every single axle and every single joint on this whole train to see how much of a difference lubrication would make to the overall sound profile. It made very little difference, actually. Most of the sound still comes from the metal on metal and the gear train from that one 9-volt motor. A number of you who are relatively technically savvy have also commented about sounds amplifying through the tables, which is valid. I can very clearly distinguish that sound myself. It's a very low drone. These are large tables and they are hollow for the most part, the way these IKEA tables are made. So they act as very large, basically bass drums. And most of that bass sound is already removed from the sound that you hear on video through my post-processing, which I do on all of my videos. Every single video that I've made in the past, I don't know, probably 10 plus years, 10 plus years has had sound engineering on it, has had post-processing, because I do care about audio. So most of the sound that's coming from the tables, you are not hearing. There is also some echo in this room. That is true, and I can hear that myself. Some of that has been removed through post-processing. There is a little bit left. I could put up some sound baffles that'll help that a little bit, but we're talking about a very small amount of sound. Most of the sound is coming directly from the train itself, directly to you, and that can be measured with a directional microphone, which I have a couple, including one shotgun microphone, so I actually tested that. Speaking of microphones, I have always used lapel mics, the type of microphones that are directly on your person, directly on your chest and pointing towards your mouth to try to collect just your voice and a lot less of the background sounds. I have gotten a new one. I have tested that. I have updated my post-processing profile to optimize to that one, and that is what you're listening to, and that's what you've been listening to throughout this video. It's the first video I've published with that microphone. I also did a side-by-side test with this microphone and the previous one, recording the exact same audio at the exact same time from the same location under the exact same conditions, and I did optimized post-processing for that one as I've done before. Ran that against an optimized profile for this one, and the difference in the train sound, even though this is a very expensive mic, it's a directional mic that I'm using, it's a directional lapel mic, the difference in train sound was minimal. The trains are just that flippin' loud. I'm sure that I could completely soundproof this entire room, cover every single square inch with optimized foam on the outsides, the deadening foam, use baffles. I could get a sound engineer in here to really do this up. There's still a limited amount that you can do to really reduce the sound of these trains. I could run foam. It would have to be sound deadening foam. It would have to be some really good stuff, more than just cork alone, underneath these tracks that would reduce the sound a noticeable amount. I would say a significant amount. That would require a level of permanence and non-Lego-ness that I would not be comfortable with whatsoever. and my tracks do need to float in order to fit. I mean, all these spots, the tracks can't connect any of those places with actual Lego stuff, and I'm trying to keep this as Lego as reasonably possible, and doing a completely custom system for all of my rails everywhere is just not something I'm interested in at all. So what I'm saying is I have now done everything that I reasonably feel like doing for the short to intermediate term. I've optimized the power, I've optimized the trains themselves, I've optimized my audio, running the trains slower now, and I'll just get them running again. This is going to be the best that you get for sound while running the trains. I could run just one at a time, certainly. Running just the cargo train is much quieter than running the cargo train and the passenger train at the same time, but I tend to prefer to see both of them going because there are nice interactions where they kind of cross paths, go next to each other, and just kind of increases the amount of movement across the whole thing. But this is what I will sound like if I am standing over here. This is the louder side of the layout because the trains come closest by here, but I'll move you to the other side just so that you can hear what that's like relatively. This is the quietest area over here where this ends up going the slowest around this corner, and then it starts to go up the incline, and also a fairly good distance away from the passenger line. So this is what my voice sounds like with the trains running, with everything as optimized as I'm willing to do. But I definitely wanted to share that with all of you. I told you I would. I told you I would do a number of things. I've done quite a number of things, spent quite a number of hours working on optimizing this. So let me know what you think of this sound here. I think that it's still too loud myself to be doing regular city updates, but a little bit of splicing when appropriate, like I did with that last video where I had just some kind of B-roll that I spliced in that had the trains running. That helps. I definitely will not switch, as I mentioned before very clearly, I will not switch to doing all the recording separate from the voiceover, because that's just unnatural to me. It doesn't feel good. I like to actually talk to you while I'm moving around, while I'm operating the camera. I like to do it effectively live. It's just more real to me. But for the most part, I will just not be running the trains, I think. I mean, if you think that the sound that you're hearing right now is acceptable, it's significantly better than it was in that video where I was asking you for feedback, let me know. But I think I've done all that I can, and it's just not enough at this point. So there you go. That's a lot of talk about a lot of things, a lot of stuff that I have not even covered. Failed experiments, different things that I tried along the way. There's a lot more to this stuff than meets the eye, that's for sure. Thank you again for your feedback. Thank you if you're going to leave more as well. It's much appreciated always. And I'll talk to you again soon. Got a lot more work to do.